Friends, hello again, and you are my friends, and welcome to a hotly anticipated Rage in the Red Sea. Anthony Joshua, Oleksandr Ysyk 2. How will this one go? I have not seen a boxing match be so spoken about, be so anticipated as this one. This is your Talking Knockouts. We are going in and having some AJ. Let's watch him in the ring as we kick off today. And there is a man that means business in the ring this weekend. But will it be enough? Will it be enough to see off Usyk, who could have stopped him anytime he wanted in the first round? Joining me, as always, is our Talking Knockout
The
guru,
media mogul,
We've just lost the teenagers. It's absolutely embarrassing.
Matt Phillips.
Here he is, Mr.
How you doing?
Very well, very well. Just pumping the crowd up for an exciting second rematch or first rematch. Look,
Second
Rage
fight.
at the Red Sea. Here we go, going in. Anthony Joshua's retirement match. Or will it be? You tell me. How are we seeing it, my man?
Well, I think it's bold of Joshua to be going back in with Usyk straight away.
He's got
also-
to. He's got no choice. He's got
Well,
no choice.
Well, he's triggered the rematch clause, hasn't he? Which is always a bugbear of everyone in boxing because you never actually get the fights you want to see with all these rematch clauses. But I mean, look, I think it was a good fight the first time round at Tottenham back in September 21. But AJ hasn't had a warm-up fight in between. Is there anything in there that tells you that he's going to? Oh, true. Well, look what's happened to Usyk in the meantime. Of course, we've had the Russian-Ukrainian war, haven't we?
Yeah, exactly.
So who knows where his mindset might be? But I think it's a big ask for Anthony to go back in there with someone I would consider to be like the Mayweather of heavyweight, and try and do the business. But we'll find out tonight in Saudi Arabia.
We certainly will. So obviously the first fight was in 2021 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Usyk won on a points decision. And after the first fight, Matt, Joshua said, sounds crazy, but the objective was never land anything damaging. It was to land scoring punches, the art of boxing, which then led Joshua on a hunt for a trainer across America. And it was almost like Anthony Joshua wanted to be something that he isn't. He wanted to be a boxer and not a knockout artist.
Yeah, I mean, that quote came up this week, and I was like, I read that, I was thinking, what? I mean, it's a bit like giving someone who's like an expert with a bazooka and saying just use his pea shooter. I just I don't understand the logic of it. And you're quite right. He's split with Rob McCracken, who's been his long-term trainer and was obviously in Carl Froch's corner and was with him for his success. And he went across America and he's landed with Robert Garcia. We'll come to him in a minute. But it always worries me when, like, off the back of defeats, big names suddenly go, right, I'm ditching that training circle and I'm going with someone else. I mean, I think Garcia's right-hand man, Angel Fernandez, was already in the Joshua camp already. But it does make you wonder, doesn't it? So, like, you come in, you're heavy-handed, you're Anthony Joshua, you're a heavy-handed hitter. And he said, look, I was trying to outbox him. He's trying to outbox the boxer. I mean, that makes no sense whatsoever. I mean, you're literally taking all the weapons you've got, the explosive right hand, and just parking it over here to try and outbox someone that no one's ever going to outbox because he's elite level technician.
Well, I remember watching an interview on a YouTube channel, which is a famous boxing YouTube channel, and the name escapes me right now, and I can't think of it. But he broke it down a little bit. He wanted to go into the fight and prove that he could box, prove that he was almost, at the level of a Tyson where he can box, he can move, he can shake. It's not just about how much power that Anthony Joshua has. Because before we went into that fight, let's not be silly about it. People's perspective on Joshua was one thing. He's a power puncher that's going to knock you the F out. He wanted to be a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
Is that a camp decision? Is that a boxer-driven decision? Is that why he split from the camp? Is McCracken a boxing coach, or is he more of a just get the job done, knock him out? Because obviously Tyson Fury's coach is all about power and punch and we're going to knock you out, brother.
Yeah, when he went over to Sugar Hill, yeah, absolutely, in the Kronk gym. That was their kind of remit in that gym in Detroit. Knockouts. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's odd. I mean, look, I've been trying to think as we prepped for this show. I've been trying to think who would have made that decision. I mean, I think part of it was maybe Tyson Fury's camp getting into Joshua's head a little bit, saying just a blown up bodybuilder.
Mm-hmm.
Two straight lines, doesn't move his head. So maybe he just wanted to prove himself there. I think also, look, McCracken obviously has a strong background in British amateur boxing and Olympic boxing. And they trained up in Sheffield, which is the amateur camp. Maybe you just like the fact that amateur boxing is about being a technician and scoring punches. Maybe he just got caught up in the whole atmosphere there. You know, I know how to knock people out. I want to learn how to be a technician. There's also an element that in the first fight against Andy Ruiz, where he had knocked Ruiz to the floor and then got floored himself, and then actually went down 4 times in total and lost his titles. You know, on the back of that, he became a technician to outbox Ruiz. But unfortunately for Ruiz, he had achieved all his dreams and didn't really train properly for the rematch. So he was just like a big guy anyway, as Fury called him, just a fat Mexican man, he called him. And
he lived his dream. He made his money.
Exactly.
On one punch knockout. You know what I mean? So couldn't blame him.
Exactly. And Joshua knew that he'd already floored him 4 times. So again, he decided to go on the back foot, counter punch. Had success doing that. Won his titles against someone who trained limited training for the rematch. Probably thought he could do it against Usyk, but I mean, I can't believe you got all the matchroom people behind you, the Hearns, Barry Hearn in there as well. You've got Rob McCracken, everyone that comes to that team. They can't have said, "Let's try and outbox Usyk." It would just be absolute. Man, it's like I don't know. It's like Burton Albion trying to go toe to toe with Manchester City.
It's one of those. It's one of those biggest. It's the biggest question marks ever. One of the biggest ever in boxing. But what was going through the mind of the camp in the first fight? Lee Carl, did you see the footage of choosing their gloves? Usyk was like, "I'll just have the same as before." Harley, welcome in, Harley. AJ will take more risks and leave himself open. Usyk KO. Which is
right.
A great little comment to come into on the Robert Garcia conversation, because obviously Joshua's new trainer is Robert Garcia, as you've just mentioned, and he's vowed to be more aggressive in this match. And many pundits say Joshua needs to lean on Usyk, be the bigger man, be the power, and go to toe with him. A little bit what Harley is saying there. Do you think that's the case?
Well, I mean, look, that's what we thought. That's always really been Joshua's tactics, be it against Povetkin or Pulev or Dominic Brazil, wherever the Dillian Whyte fight, but going back to the start of his career. That's what he was all about. I mean, Garcia was a bit of a curveball choice for me, really. But as they say, he's out of the Riverside gym in California. And he's traditionally trained lighter weights. So like Marcus Maidana, who fought Amir Khan, and he was in his corner for the 2 fights against Mayweather. He's heavy-handed. And he turned his career around as well, really, because he looked like someone who was just drifting. And then Brandon Rios, who's a Mexican-American who liked to fight in a phone box. So, yeah, it's a rough and tumble gym. And maybe that's what Josh has just chosen, maybe just for this fight. I don't know if this is going to be a long-term thing, but like I say, Garcia's right-hand man, Fernandez, was already in the camp. So there's obviously a little bit of a relation there. As far as I know, I don't think it's been plain sailing in the camp either. I think they have had crosswords and stuff. But really? I always apparently. So maybe it would just be for this fight. I don't know. I mean, do
we know what about? Do we know what?
I don't know. I don't know
the underlying issue.
Maybe I don't know in terms of. So certainly, I think I think they've been harder on him in terms of how they work, in terms of the aggression on that. I think McCracken was all very similar to how he used to train Carl Froch. He was on the bag, he was on the pads. I think it was a bit more of a slower approach, where I think in the American gyms there, it's kind of foot to the floor and throw that jab, you're getting a proper workout there. So I do expect him to be aggressive tonight, but at the same time, that could be his kryptonite, because Usyk, I think, will probably welcome that, because he's so fleet of foot. And and has perfected what Mayweather used to say: the art of boxing is to hit and not be hit. Yeah, I mean, it's all very well saying, Josh is going to throw knockout punches. Got to connect to those punches. And if you're swinging and missing, you're in a world of trouble against Usyk, because he would just.
And you've got to have range as well. You've got to be in that range area, that zone, to be able to throw those punches. And Usyk's very good at the fleet foot movement, keeping the distance, and just sort of moving around you a little bit. Eric Clacton, hello you two. Usyk for me. AJ is a dosser, says Craig Pearce, and will be retired tonight. Harley. Truth is, Usyk is just a better fighter and boxer. AJ has always been a limited fighter and protected his record isn't as good as people make out. Lee Cole. AJ looks a lot softer than his usual physique, so I'm expecting to see him using his weight to lean on him a lot during his using his weight to his advantage. Harley again. Garcia is a good coach. Did very well with his brother Mikey. Never trained heavyweight fights, which was a strange choice in my opinion.
I mean, I agree. I agree with that. I mean, I was trying to think when the rumors were floating around that McCracken and him weren't going to work together anymore. I was kind of perplexed as to who he'd have gone with. Do you know what I mean? We'll see what the fruits of their labour are this evening, but you know, it's such a tough ask, and you know, even if Anthony does go back to being aggressive and throwing the big punches, that could just play into Usyk's hands. And as Usyk said at the end of the last fight, you know, when AJ said, you know, I will have a different game plan for the next fight, Usyk said, I might have a different game plan for the next fight. So don't expect him to just stick with the plan A. He'd probably have a plan A, plan B, plan C. He's that good, isn't he?
He's very, very good. Many predictions I've seen from the good and the great, Amir Khan, Deontay Wilder, etc. Most have gone with an Usyk win. If that is the case this evening, Matt, if Usyk wins somehow, some way, is it, as Craig Pearce said, the retirement match for Anthony Joshua? Because I truly believe it is. He has nowhere else to go if he loses this boxing match.
Well, let's break it down a little bit. We're certainly, as having a shot at undisputed is or unified belts, that will be gone for the time being. I don't think he will retire, and I think he has said, like, even if he did, he just wants to be in big fights. Look, I'm a really massive Usyk fan, but you can't beat having the Brits involved in the really big fights. I actually think there'll be a lot of big fights out there for Joshua, even if he loses tonight. You've got Dubois, who's going to be probably mandatory for WBA at some point. Deontay Wilder's coming back in October against Robert Helenius.
Is there an appetite for that? I mean, really, the appetite before Usyk won was obviously Fury and AJ, the two best British boxers holding the belts, going at it toe to toe. That's been damaged a little bit. If he loses again tonight, it's not damaged, it's completely off the table, because there's no reason for Tyson Fury to even want to entertain the idea. And of course, Eddie Hearn's bottom line, that'll be hurt, let's be honest. You know, there was big money coming up with this fight. This is a fight AJ desperately needs to win. He needs to win it categorically.
I in terms of being that elite contender, I think. Certainly. But I mean, look, Fury could make a mandatory defense and choose Joshua for that, and we could still have that.
But they don't need to, though.
Everything's up in the air. Well, everyone wants to make a pound note, don't they? That's why they're in Saudi. Well, we'll come to that in just a second. Remind me of that. But you know, everything's up in the air with Fury at the moment. I mean, he's got until he keeps saying he was retired. Then he comes out of retirement. Then he goes back into retirement. I mean, getting ridiculous. I believe he's vacated the Ring Magazine belt, which when we've done these shows previously, I've always said to you,
you love that belt.
When you take the alphabet titles out of the equation, all the different color belts, the Ring Magazine is one that kind of I think is probably the true champion. So I believe he's vacated that. Could well be on the line this evening. I do hope it is. And he's got till the 26th to say to the WC, I'm vacating that. In which case, Deontay Wilder will be back in the mix. I think there'll still be some big domestic fights for Joshua. You could see him against, you know, we've got Joyce Parker coming up very soon. You could see him in that. You could see him against Deontay Wilder. I don't think he will decide, but like you say, coming back to have a go at all the belts is going to be difficult. But then he could be out of the mix because then Usyk wins tonight, for example. And I know his advisor, Alex Krisiak, has said, we want to go for undisputed after this because he was undisputed cruiserweight champion and then wants to be undisputed heavyweight champion. I mean, that is an unbelievable haul to be able to turn that around. Even Mayweather at the lighter weights didn't have those kind of accolades. We'll wait and see. We'll see what Joshua's like. But go for it.
I was just going to say, I think the biggest perspective or biggest thing from my perspective is the public perception. Up until Usyk, AJ was untouchable with the general public. He was the best fighter in England. He would wipe the floor with Tyson Fury. There's nobody can come close. Usyk comes along, tarnishes it, really hurts AJ. And looking at the chat again today, things are being said about AJ in that chat you would never have dreamt about before Usyk won. A defeat will just make him, to the public, Just another fight. Just another Joyce Parker. Another Derek Chisora. Another boxer that was, he was all right, but he's not elite. He's not the best. Am I going to pay $25.99 for a fight about AJ anymore? It will hurt him and his bottom line so much.
Brand AJ, would certainly be hurt. There's no way you could justify bumping the pay-per-view as they do.
You couldn't. Really couldn't, because even Deontay Wilder, heavy hitter, been beaten 3 times by Tyson Fury, one of which wasn't an official win. But even that fight, is there the real appetite? Of course, boxing fans will love it. They'll drive to it. They'll flock to it. But the general public, that's the ones you really want to attract with boxing fights, because they're the ones that pay the money that make the purse higher. I really think this is an AJ, not a last booth, because he's young enough to still come back, but it's certainly could be a last super money fight.
Yeah, in terms of like crossover fights. I mean, I was in the gym this morning and everyone was talking about it. But if you suddenly have Usyk versus, I don't know, Deontay Wilder, that takes place in Vegas or whatever. You've kind of lost that mainstream British audience, haven't you? But if you're talking Wilder, Joshua, everyone's going to be back on it, aren't they? I think maybe for Joshua, if he loses tonight, then you're just looking at big named fights, like I say, like a Joshua versus Wilder. I think that will still capture people's imaginations. He'll probably wind down his career a little bit, I would have thought. I mean, look, heavyweights, it's coming up to 33, Joshua. Heavyweights do go for quite a long time. I mean, that Robert Helenius, who's fighting Wilder in October, I mean, he's kind of turned his career around a little bit. It would annoy me if he got a shot at the title. I mean, he was like a journeyman, Helenius. The Nordic Nightmare beat Chisora. He was fighting around as a journeyman. In February, he's suddenly got himself back into the mix. I mean, you'd
never back Del Boy, though, do you? In any fight, let's be honest.
I mean, look, could you see Joshua versus Del Boy? I mean, look, Del's a proper throwback, isn't he? He don't care how many defeats he's got on him.
I love Del Boy, but
he's got about 12 defeats on his record right now, which is like proper
hardcore. He ain't bothered. He don't care. Just keep throwing them my way.
Yeah. I mean, boxing's funny about that. I mean, you see that in the UFC. A lot of people have, double-digit defeats. No one really is bothered. In boxing, you see that record. Mayweather was always about protecting the zero, and I think that's probably some of the mystique around Joshua was lost when he lost that zero when he got beaten in by Ruiz. And I don't think he's ever been the same after that Ruiz fight, because I don't know about you when you saw it, but when he was walked to the ring and he was in the ring and he kept taking his gum shield, there was something wrong that night, and I knew he was going to lose. I just had that feeling he's going to get beaten. That did go away slightly when he floored Ruiz, only for a minute later for him to go down himself. But it's never been explained. What was the issue that night? There was rumours of panic attacks. There was rumours of also not feeling well, whatever it might have been. But I always find it dodgy that, that's never been explained. Will it come out when he retires all those years later? I don't know. But I don't think it's ever been the same. Not been the same since then.
One boxer that could really benefit from tonight's fight is, of course, Tyson Fury, because whoever wins, there's a big match on the horizon. If Usyk wins, people are going to salivate at the fact Usyk Fury. Can Fury, who's a great boxer, take on Usyk? Can Usyk outbox Tyson Fury, who went to Dusseldorf, and outboxed a Klitschko? If AJ wins, suddenly it's back on the cards. The great British heavyweights. Can AJ take it and go and beat in view? So Fury can sit at home tonight in Fleetwood or wherever he may be and literally just wait and count the cash, because it's going to be coming his way regardless if he wins tonight.
Yeah. I think that's part of the reason why the WBC have given Fury till next week to see if he actually is retired. Because like you say, there's a lot of signposts to where you go after this for Fury. I mean, if Joshua was to win and then gets the mic tonight and says, Tyson Fury, where you're at, look, Tyson's a fighting man. He ain't going to go, I'm retired. Really? He'll say, I'll see you next summer or whatever it might be.
And that undisputed reign you just said about Usyk, Tyson's not going to like that.
No,
I'm the best. I'm the best in our generation. You can't come here and take the belts.
I don't really think Fury rates Usyk particularly. I think he looks at him as just a blown up cruiserweight, which, I mean, arguably he is a cruiserweight, still all weighing probably a stone heavier, and has gone up to heavyweight. And of course, there's a huge height difference between Usyk and Fury. I mean, look, I think Usyk is about 6'1", 6'2", and what's Fury? 6'9", huge. I mean, even Joshua dwarfs Usyk. But of course, the skills make up for that differential, don't they? It'll be interesting to see what happens with Fury. I would imagine next week he'll say, I'm not retired anymore if Joshua wins. And I'll see you then. Or ditto with Usyk. He'll see himself getting all the belts. And then maybe
you don't leave money on the table. Sorry to cut across. You don't leave money on the table.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how much you've got. You don't leave money on that table. Harley asks, what do you think of Johnny Nelson's comments, Matt, saying Usyk is average southpaw?
Ludicrous. Ludicrous. I mean, look, Johnny Nelson, he lost his first 3 professional fights. And then fair play to him, he did go on and be a champion. But to say he's an average southpaw is just crazy talk. Crazy talk. This guy's going straight. How can you be an average southpaw if you've gone from winning every belt in the cruiserweight division, knocking out Tony Bellew, beating Gassiev, who was a hard hitter, Marco Hook, who also tried his luck at heavyweight, also a heavy hitter, took him out, then going up to heavyweight and beating Joshua, maybe not once, but maybe twice. So just call him the average southpaw. I don't know what Johnny was thinking now. Don't know.
Well, I think he's trying to just be on the air, siding on.
It's been controversial, just being stupid, and I think that's the latter. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. You've got to try and build that fight, though. You've got to try and build the appetite for the fan as well.
It'd be really sad for me if we didn't see Joshua Fury. It'd be one of those fights you just say, "Oh man, I'd love to see that."
But it's not what it was, though. It's before the first fight between Oleksandr Ysyk and it was such a salve. I literally could dream of it. And it was going to be a great fight. Now we
was almost there, weren't we? And of course, the Court of Arbitration in the States said that Fury had to go and have the third fight with Wilder.
But he did his job. He did his part. It's been the part of AJ, who was everybody's golden boy, that hasn't come through.
Well, that pathway there at the Court of Arbitration now leads us back to how we've ended up in Saudi, because the site deal was already set for Fury and Joshua to fight there, and that's probably one of the reasons we've gone to Saudi. You've had all this criticism, haven't you, recently about the breakaway in the Gulf, isn't it? Live Golf.
Yeah,
and you've had the Saudis take over in Newcastle, and of course got all these questionable human rights and rights for females and all that kind of thing.
Sport washing, they call it, don't they?
Yeah. But boxing just floats under the radar when it comes to this. The Jeddah Superdome they're in tonight. They've had the WWE in now.
They have. They have.
What is it? Extinction Chamber, I think it was called. They had that in there fairly recently. Listen, this could be the future. I think we might have to get. Look, in terms of a UK time differential, I think it's quite good for us, because I think basically on the same. The fights are really good for us, and also in the States. But I do think you're going to start seeing, especially with DAZN involved. You might, and a lot of that's funded by Eastern Bloc money, and there's a lot of Eastern Bloc money in Saudi. And I just think you could see this a lot going forward. I think they've got the money to pay the fighters. I think they've paid 150 million for a site fee that goes to the fighters. Everyone want it. Now Fury's not good. Now Fury might say to himself, "Well, if I'm going to fight AJ, I want some of that cheddar over there. I want the cheddar in Jeddah." Is what he's going to
cheddar in Jeddah.
That's what it's going to be. I think.
I thought the whole point of DAZN was that we didn't get box office sites anymore.
Well, right. This is boxing. Goalposts are always being moved. So yeah, exactly. So you're paying your subscription. You're paying your $7.99, and then suddenly DAZN go. Actually, because DAZN launched on the back of the pay-per-view models, dead.
Yeah.
But it's just too many people want a slice of the pie. So suddenly you've got DAZN pay-per-view, which is what it is in the States. The scene is in its Sky. But you'll see, when we next do one of these shows, you bank Ben, the next gen.
They're trying to build that though as a family feud fight, and it's bloody.
But I love that. I love that because that was when I really started getting into the boxing in the late 80s. So I love all that. So I can remember it the first time out. But that'll be DAZN pay-per-view. What kind of prices there'll be, I don't know. If you're paying $7.99 already, what's it going to be? A tenner, $12.99. Look, tonight's already 27 quid, isn't it?
Only a boxing subscription model could charge you a monthly fee and then charge you more for content that you actually really desperately want.
Now, we're being critical of the Saudis, but they have gifted, if you don't know this, they have gifted the Ukrainian TV rights to Usyk's YouTube channel. So you can watch it on YouTube if you live in Ukraine. I'm just going to float that there. If you know your way around the internet, I'm just going to leave that there for you, okay?
There you go.
Live on Usyk's YouTube channel in Ukraine.
Live on Usyk's YouTube channel if you live in Ukraine.
Yeah. I'll just leave that there for people that know their way around the internet.
EJ, Usyk doesn't like body shots, so AJ needs to plant somebody. Anderson, AJ needs to release the shackles down any chance. Harley, Helenius got a very good win versus Matt
Kawanaki.
He's done well to come back. Richard Chandler, AJ goes and sticks it on him early doors, and if he catches him, he wins. Otherwise, he loses. Harley, I think Usyk chin is underrated. Took some good shots in his first fight and didn't affect him at all.
If you do look at Usyk's face at the end of the fight, he's got two massive, great bloody black eyes. So I mean, Joshua did, even though Joshua said to him post fight, wasn't really trying to hurt him. He did connect with him some shots, but it goes back to what we said at the top of the show. You've got to catch him. I mean, I don't know when people say he doesn't like body shots. I don't think he's ever really taken anything significant. I mean, look, no one likes getting it in the stomach, do they? Depending if you're a boxer or not, no one wants to get a shot there. Very rarely you would see a heavyweight go down with a body shot. Interestingly, Tyson Fury did do that to Deontay Wilder, which shows you how heavy-handed he was and how light Wilder was, but in that second fight. But yeah, I mean, what's your prediction, Ryan? What are you thinking?
Well, I'm going to get some comments first before I come to me. Fury, Richard Chandler, Fury only fights again if AJ wins, much as he always says it's nonsense-wise. Fury only cares about the money and he won't fight Usyk. I don't know. I think pride comes into that because if Usyk wants to be the dominant, undisputed of both, that's a lot of I'm the best, not you. I'm the best. If you want to beat the best, you got to beat the man. You can't walk around saying you were the best without beating me.
Usyk's a great character as well. You'll see this evening that he's got this. He's shaved his head, but he's just got one strap of hair here. I don't know if he'll have to have that tied back. That's supposed to be a reference to the Cossack warrior back in old Soviet Union times.
Okay,
that's what
nice.
That is a reference to.
Harley, Fury has to fight the winner to complete his legacy. Fury loves the sport. He isn't retired. Absolutely my point. That's what I'm talking about. Fury is a man that, I absolutely agree. Actually, Harris, if we get the Joshua from Klitschko before, but Klitschko was done and dusted by then. Richard Chandler, that's all I know that's controversial what I've just said there.
AJ, I think we need to see though again.
But Klitschko was done and dusted, Matt, by that point.
Yeah, I mean he was. I mean, look, seriously, Klitschko nearly knocked Joshua out. I mean, how Joshua
Dillian White nearly knocked AJ out.
Yeah, very true. But I mean, he absolutely floored him. I mean, I thought that fight was over at Wembley when Klitschko floored AJ. I would imagine if you'd wound back 2-3 years, it would have been over. But that's what you need to see tonight, though, with AJ. That hunger that got up off the floor and then stopped him in, what was it, the 10th or the 11th round?
The Fury hunger from Wilder, where it's all done and dusted and Wilder's dancing and blowing kisses to his corner and Fury has an Undertaker moment where he just appears out of nowhere. His soul is resurrected.
I do think with AJ, like, he overthinks things. Like, Fury's not an overthinker. He's a fighting man. He just goes in there and has a brawl, and like you say, and then suddenly he's done.
Though.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's phenomenal.
I'm not sure AJ can.
He's been
brought up to be.
Yeah, it's in the blood. It's in the Fury blood. It's in the traveling DNA. I mean, he goes way back to people like Bartley Gorman, who was like the original king of the gypsies. I mean, that's that's his family thread, isn't it? Whereupon AJ kind of discovered boxing because he needed a way out of the life he was in. I mean, even if you just Google back on Watford Observer from before the Olympics, AJ was done for drugs.
It's about escaping, that sort of.
Yeah, he escapes it. I mean, fair play to him.
That life, isn't it? Absolutely. And he's turned it around tremendously. I just think all boxers have a massive, great bloody ego. You've got to be a boxer. I think AJ wants to be seen in the category as a Fury. I can do knockout, but I can equally box. I can equally move. I can equally do south. I can equally do orthodox. Blah 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 blah. But he can't. He's AJ. He's AJ. He needs to knock out.
This is where he's suddenly overthinking. He's just sort of like he's probably like you said earlier. He's trying to be something he's not. And if you watch the 20-minute documentary that Sky uploaded this week, where they look back on the last fight, and he goes, "Yeah, this is where I can take everything I've learned in the gym, and then I can practice it on fight night." Fight night is not the time to practice things, is it? Fight night is where you put it all together into the pot. And you deliver. And I don't know. I just feel like he goes back to the dressing room and he says, we're just going to go again. It's all about me. Boxing doesn't really work like that. I mean, I know like there's a lot of self-help stuff and it says, it's all about me and what I do. You got a man in front of you. He's probably one of the best heavyweights in the last 20, 30 years, in my opinion. And that would be decided over his legacy over the next couple of years. But I think it's phenomenal. And whatever AJ brings to the table, I think Usyk will probably be able to match that.
Yeah, I absolutely do. And as for Ashley Harris to say he was done and dusted, wasn't that his last professional fight? Klitschko?
It was, yeah. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Not many boxers retire straight after a fight if they've not done. Harley, I love Klitschko, but
and he fought great that night. I was a little bit that he didn't fight again because a lot of Klitschko fights were really boring. You know what I mean? It was just sort of jab, cross, and the geese was knocked out like he did against Pulev. But he was really excited. Maybe he knew that was his swan song. It was very exciting.
I'm a big fan of the Klitschko brothers, and it was a very sad day when it was like, where is the next Klitschko fight? And there wasn't one, then there wasn't one, then there wasn't one. Because I think that the sport was so much better with him in it, because he was a guard keeper.
Yeah, and ditto Vitali, who held the WBC belt. I mean, he would have beaten Lennox Lewis, I think, had he not been stopped on the doctor stopped it on a cut. He would have beaten Lewis. And newsflash, Lennox Lewis retired after that fight. He knew what was coming as well.
Harley said the Klitschko knockdown definitely saw AJ adapt this more negative approach. He needs to find that beast he had coming through as a prospect. Joe Curry says, should do a show on the UFC tonight, lads. More fans will watch. I am going to be honest with you. I haven't got a bleeding clue about the UFC.
I don't know much about that. UFC, it's we've got Leon Edwards in the cage tonight from Birmingham against Kamara Usman for the welterweight title. So could have a British champion in the UFC.
I've got no problem with two blokes knocking absolutely 10 tons of cow pat out of each other. Yeah. If they can use it in only one way, so your hands or your feet. When you can start using anything that your body controls, like you don't know where a punch is coming or a kick is coming. Exactly. I just
MMA, mixed martial arts. It's called mixed martial arts.
They get on the floor and they roll around, and it's like, what's going on? Then one bloke gets pinned, and he's smashing his nose in. There's levels of brutality that even I can take.
Yes, yeah, it is. I do really enjoy the UFC, but you got to, it's not for everybody. It's Marmite.
You can't have a Domino's pizza with it. Do you know what I mean? Because eventually the pepperoni and the bloke's nose will look very similar. So it's just not for me, I'm afraid.
We saw that last weekend in the Dominic Cruz fight. Yeah, he got kicked to the face, broke his nose, face plant. Yeah.
See? That said, there is a YouTube channel called Street Beefs, which I do thoroughly enjoy.
I've seen that. Street Beefs, yeah.
Yeah, that's a little bit of MMA. Yeah, that's where you've got two people with beef. They don't take it on the streets. They take it to the ring, and whatever happens there, it's done. It's done. You shake hands like men, and you leave. And that's
quite a good channel. I've not watched that for a while. I'm going to get back in that. Street Beefs.
It's a good channel, yeah. Ashley Harris, Klitschko done. Oh, sorry, I've just read that one. Craig Pierce, who would Usyk fight next if Fury doesn't come out of retirement? If AJ wins, do you think we'll see a trilogy? We probably will, and I don't really want to, with Usyk, or will Hearn go all out to finally get AJ Fury?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've done a little list here. When I was flying back from Glasgow yesterday, I've done a little list of things. So, I mean, for the WBC belt, for Fury, I mean, Parker, Joyce, Wilder, Helenius, they could all be in the mix for him, or the vacant belt if it comes. On the undercard this evening is Filip Hrgovic versus Zhang from China. He's an absolute beast from China, undefeated. I think whoever wins this fight will become mandatory for the IBF belt, which Usyk holds. I would imagine Hrgovic will win that. So a Croatian, hard-hitting Croatian. So he could, I think he's Croatian. Yeah. He could be in the mix next. For the WBO, you're probably looking at either Joyce or Parker when they fight next month. I think it's next month. They could become mandatory. And in the WBA, Daniel Dubois beat Michael Hunter, I think it was, last month. So you could still get a British fight there, but yeah, it doesn't quite. It all pales in significance to the Fury.
What about Fabio Wardley?
Well, Fabio's still kind of domestic European level at the moment, but don't count him out in the next 18 months to 2 years. Absolutely, we'll see. That'd be great, wouldn't it? Have you at Pullman Road?
Yeah, well, this is it. Absolutely, Harley, Joe. Do you give it Matt? I think he means. Do you give Edwards a chance? Asked to beat Usman.
Tough call, isn't it? Usman. I can't believe Usman's got a defeat on his record, right? He's done 21 fights, got one defeat. And he looks like if you punched him in the face, you'd break your hand. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
we'll see.
Metal Jace loves the UFC. Look, if there's enough call for the UFC, I will find a team together. I will put a team together, like the A team, to talk UFC. Because it won't be me, because I ain't got a bloody clue. But I will find people. Lee Anderson.
The problem you got with the UFC is it's kind of weekly. It's a weekly thing. Although the numbered events are monthly, but.
What is it now? UFC 433,000.
Yeah, not quite. I think we're 278 tonight. UFC 278.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I remember a time when Shane McMahon wanted to actually buy into the UFC, and I think Vince didn't.
Well, you've had crossover. You've had Ken Shamrock's been in there. You've had Brock Lesnar in there.
Dan Severin.
Yeah, you've had who was the Olympic guy? Not Kurt Angle. The other one, blonde-haired fella. What was his name? Some tell me in the comments, you know what I mean.
Pass. Yeah, obviously Conor McGregor. Well, lots of talk about Conor McGregor, but he never actually appeared for the WWE. But he's the most famous UFC fighter.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, he took it again. You're talking people that take things to other levels. You know, Joshua and Fury have taken heavyweight boxing to another level here, and McGregor done it for UFC on this side of the shore. Isn't it?
CM Punk obviously did it for the UFC. Well, he did
CM
do it
Punk,
for very long.
I can't remember who his was. I can't remember who his name was.
Someone would tell us in the chat.
Yeah.
Harley Klitschko had been 2 years inactive after Fury lost when he fought AJ. He was past it, no way denying it. Harley, thank you very much. Somebody coming to the rescue of the Gov. Agree.
Jack something. His name was Jack Swagger. Jack Swagger.
Jack Swagger. Yeah, he
didn't appear. He didn't. He was with Bellator, I think, but he didn't appear under. He appeared under his real name, not his wrestling name.
Fair enough. Shall we go to predictions and round up a wonderful talking knockout show? Yeah. Predictions then. Matt, you can kick us off with the predictions.
Well, my prediction here. So we've got. Let's break it down, right? I think Usyk's probably still going to be around about the same tactics as what he did in September 21, because that works for him. He's a counter puncher. He's fleet of foot. He's hard to hit. He ain't going to break. He's not going to mix up the recipe because it worked the first time. But Joshua has to mix it up because we knew just being a boxer. So if being a boxer didn't work, we know he's going to come out swinging probably, or conservative swinging rather than pub brawl swinging, right? And he's gone with Garcia, who we've already broken down as being someone who's an aggressive trainer. So can Joshua find the range to get inside Usyk and hurt him, which he probably could do? But I don't think a one punch is going to hurt Usyk. You've got to get inside to throw combinations. And that is where Usyk might thrive with his counter punches. So my prediction is that Anthony will give it a good go. I think he's going to swing and miss a lot. And I think even though they're indoors, I think in the Jeddah Superdome, I think the conditions there, just the heat that takes place in Saudi, he might start gassing a little bit and maybe get stopped around about the halfway mark, 6 to 8 rounds maybe. I think the referee might just.
So has Joshua win inside 6 to 8 rounds?
Usyk in 6 to 8.
Oh, sorry, my mistake.
I think Joshua will gas out, having been overly aggressive to try and get the knockout, and he'll get stopped. And don't forget, Usyk nearly stopped him in the 12th round at Tottenham.
True, very true.
I think you'll see that. I think what you'll see is the latter rounds in Tottenham in the earlier stages here. So my bet, Usyk between 6 and 8 referee stoppage.
Okay. EJ says Usyk to win by round 8. Harley, Usyk round 6. And Lee Anderson, if it goes past 6, Usyk wins. Yeah. I have written down on my bit of paper here, it's going to be a knockout. Anthony Joshua in round 4.
God, you think Usyk's going to walk into one there?
I think Usyk's going to walk into one.
You get some good money for that if you put something down.
Anthony Joshua inside 4 with a knockout. Boom.
Well, even though I'm a huge Usyk fan, you can't beat having the heavyweight titles on this side of the Atlantic. So we'll just have to.
Just as I say that, look, there's Chandler coming through, backing me up.
Oh, look at that. Maybe I should put some money on this then. People are liking it. Is there something in the air?
It's what I wrote down. It was on the bit of paper there. Look, Joshua knockout, round 4.
Very good.
I think he will. He's going to have to. He's got no choice. He's going to have to come out flying and knocking out, because if he goes past round 5 and 6, there's going to be nothing in that tank.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're going to be trying to box, and you box the first match, and you didn't bother.
Yeah.
Just might as well throw the towel in. Round 4 knockout for me. It's got to be the done. It's got to be done.
Yeah. It's great, isn't it? It's so exciting. Big fights like this. I mean, this is why I like seeing AJ and Fury in the mix, because when we do the talking knockouts, it's a big show. So
you certainly do. We will continue the conversation on our Discord. If you're a YouTube or Ko-Fi member, if you're not one of those yet, it starts at $4.99. Get involved. Links in the chat. We'll carry on the chat inside the Discord. There'll be an actual thread for it, so you can talk through the boxing match. I won't be on there because I will be at a wedding as a best man, and I do not want any spoilers. Do not spoil it for me. Unless AJ wins inside 4 with a knockout, then certainly spoil it for me, because I'll be ready to cash in at Ladbroke. So do that if that is the case. But we're done for today. Matt, you can lead us out. You can have that honor.
We're done and dusted. Another exciting show. Really enjoyed that. Thanks to everyone tuning in. We've got Parker and Joyce coming up. We've got Conor Ben Eubank coming up. So we've got more talking knockouts on the horizon. Looking forward to it.
They're not too big fights.
2 big fights. If it's on pay-per-view, they're big fights.
Well, I'll take your word for that. Until tomorrow, until afterwards, we'd love it.
You make me smile when I think of you. If I get down or when I get blue, I can't get enough. You make me happy, I feel so fine. Oh, how I wish that you were mine. I can't get enough. Hopeless lover. I woke up all soaked in sweat, weird chills running down my neck. I'm going crazy from just the thought of you. A long blonde hair.